Welcome to the Tim Castle Show, where I sit down with courageous individuals doing inspirational things around the world. Whether it's AI, crypto, mindset, leadership, negotiation and sales, I've got you covered. I sit at that nexus of disruption and change. I'm loving every second of this. I really do believe this is the most abundant time that we've lived in. And if we harness what's going on correctly, we can build businesses that are going to transform our future and your lives. So come with me on this journey, meet the people. I pull back the curtain, I find out who they really are. I started off building this podcast for my sons as something they could look back on later in life and see the conversations that their dad had with people that he respected and admired, but most of all, get the lessons. And now I'm sharing those lessons with you and the reasons that people had done things, the ambition, the passion, and the hardship and their vulnerabilities. And I actually really enjoy it. This is one of the most special times as I get to sit down with people that I really would love to chat to and ask them the questions that are burning in my mind. If you are the same as me and you're pushing the limits and the edges of what you do, please like and subscribe to the show. It helps me tremendously to get new guests on the show and expand that reach so we can help more people together. Okay, welcome back to the Tim Castle Show. This is the show where I sit down with courageous people doing inspirational things around the world. And I've got someone that I've wanted to have on the show for a very long time, building his business from nothing and turning it into a PR empire. Oliver Budgen, welcome to the show.
What a lovely welcome. Thanks, Tim. Great to be here. I'm a huge fan of your podcast, so it's a bit of an honour to be here with you.
Oh, it's an honour for me. And do you want me to call you Ollie or Oliver?
So Oliver is if I'm having to write kind of semi-grumpy emails to legal teams or whatever, or if I'm being scolded by my mum, then Oliver. So yeah, Ollie's fine.
Okay, if we scold you on this podcast, can we use Oliver then?
If you scold me on this podcast, something's gone terribly wrong. But yeah, please feel free to. If my behaviour goes beyond the mark, then yeah, please hold me to account.
Oliver, stop it. Okay, I'm setting the guardrails. So you are founder and CEO of Bud Communications. It's an agency that's helped some of the world's most ambitious technology companies. Now, you have gone specifically after challenger brands, not the big Fortune 500. Why did you take on that mission? Why now? Why you? Why PR?
Well, I think, working with challenger brands it doesn't mean working with big or small companies. A challenger company can be a lean startup with 3 employees, or it can be a 10,000 person organization. I think it's a mentality. And for me, it's about impact and influence. So I'm really interested in where I think I can leave the biggest mark and help a company move from A to B. And that A, maybe we're in crisis, we're having a real problem with our reputation and how well people are believing us. Or it could be no one knows us. We've just started, we just launched in a region and no one knows our name. And I think where I get most excited, where I get the most powerful sense of achievement and value is when I feel like we've taken someone from A to B. And so challenger brands, I think, require that mindset. They need to think about subverting the rules. If they've got aggressive competitors in the market that they need to steal lunch from, they need to be challenging in their thinking. But also, challenger thinking means you're also receptive to challenger thinking. And I think that means that I feel like the clients that we work with have picked us because they really want someone to come in and not be the yes person, but actually to really challenge them and think about what are the tough decisions they need to make, what's the route that they can take that's going to, at all costs, help them close the gap between how they're seen today and where they need to be seen tomorrow.
That's amazing. That's amazingly well put. I feel like if I was a challenger brand, I'd choose you. I feel like, yeah, it's the underdog. It's not just the underdog, though. If I've got something going wrong and people are perceiving my business differently, then I want someone like you in my corner that's not going to be a yes man and actually tell me how to put this right. That's the experience you're pulling on. But I want to go back to 2020, right? So there's a few things you said in your introduction that light me up no end. The one being around the culture and the fact that it's a culture of curiosity and not just that. I mean, that's running through your veins. That's your strategy here. But in 2020, you're sat in a coffee shop with a laptop. You think about building Bud. What's going through your mind? Was there ever a moment you're going, I'm scared, what is this a terrible mistake? Like, what am I doing?
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, utter terror is a constant, I think, when you're going through the entrepreneurship journey, and you know this as well as I do.
Utter terror, love it.
And I think there's got to be a slight, I wouldn't say comfort, but tolerance with terror every day. Yeah, I mean, it seemed like a crazy idea, but I think being obviously younger than I am now, I think naivety is helpful. Sometimes if you really assess and measure the risks and the likelihood of failure, a lot of people won't take that jump and make it. And so I think there was a gung-ho, a foolhardiness about it that said, hey, the industry seems broken. I feel like clients aren't getting the best value they can get. I think I'm the one to create that. Let's go. And yeah, with a laptop in a coffee shop with nothing really other than questions and curiosity, that's the sort of the founding basis and business plan of Bud. And yeah, if I think about it, the why is clients. I felt like, I didn't have heaps and heaps of PR agency experience. I had 14 months of PR experience before I was selected to lead an agency. And then I did that for a little bit before I then started my own. So I really was very unqualified. But I think that in hindsight was a blessing. I think when you've worked in an industry for a long time, sometimes that bolts on structures, ways of working, principles and methodologies that are there because they've always been there, rather than they're there because they really well serve the client or you or your stakeholders. And so there was something refreshing, I think, about coming in as a new challenger into the space, getting rid of a lot of that structure, and really trying to get to the heart of the problem and speaking directly to founders or leadership teams. And rather than, I think, a lot of the trappings of PR, which is often people think it's a press release game, right? And we can talk about that later, but I think that's a big misconception. I really wanted to do away with a lot of those things and actually just get to the heart of what's the problem, how are people seeing you right now, what can we do to change it? And I think that was really the kind of the founding principle of how I started things.
That's amazing. So you went into an agency for 14 months. You saw that the rules that were in place were limiting. You decided to rewrite the rule book and then went out to create Bud Communications and have that philosophy running from the start.
I saw, if we look at culture, agencies, and I know this, my wife worked in big ad agencies for a long time as well, so I saw some of the challenges of that world, whereby people are your product, but they weren't treated as such. They were often overworked. There was, toxic behaviours in those places.
In the team, in the agency
team.
Yeah,
yeah, absolutely. And it wasn't even anything as explicit as, extreme toxic behaviour, but it was just for me a realisation that if I ever had the opportunity to start my own agency or team, investing in your people and creating a really great place to work is priority number one. And when I started, I didn't have resources. I couldn't. When I say investing in people, I didn't have a budget. I wasn't able to send people on lavish trainings and things. But what we were able to do is just make sure that we were treated people really well, made sure people felt that we had their backs. And I think that's always been a tenet of working at Bud, is that we want to challenge people and get them to do things they never thought they were capable of. And with that, obviously, comes discomfort, but also an idea that we've got your back. We want you to try things. We want you to mess up. We want you to fail, but don't worry, we're not going to penalise you for that. And I think that was another kind of approach that we took that meant that we were able to get some really good people into the business very early, which was a big risk. The agency, no one had heard of us. We were still brand new. We were growing out the ashes of COVID. We had no right to demand that great talent came and work with us. We certainly weren't paying a premium for them because we couldn't afford it. But we had some very great early backers that came in because I think they thought this is a really great kind of canvas to build a really cool thing together.
That's super impressive. Like, I can feel your energy when you speak about it. I feel like you're like on fire right now. There's a glowing energy around
That's just the filter you've put on.
I'm going to put that filter on. But you can feel like, I can sense it, and I can sense that this is what truly brings you alive, and that people are your product. And yes, if anyone's listening or they're working or they know agencies, ad agencies, media agencies, it is a tough gig. It's a tough gig. So yes, I can see it's a refreshing breath of fresh air to have a leader or a team that has the ethos that says, I've got your back and I want you to go out and fail and test stuff and then bring the results back to me and innovate. That could be like, that's worth more than money, because that's purpose, that's learning, that's growth. And with those strategies, you can then go out and take that anywhere. You're building people, essentially. And then you applied that to Bud, which is like, as you said, you're an unknown agency, but you had something different about you. You went out in the market and then you gave it to the people. The right talent will come because they're looking for that. You can't just buy. It's not just a trade of give me more money and I'll work in this pressure cooker forever. No, that trade doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, conversely, another thing that made us a great place for some people to join us made us the wrong place for other people, other great talent as well.
Such a great lesson. Yeah, okay. How did you manage that though?
Well,
And why was it the wrong place?
Okay, so, all the things that allowed me to do the job I had as a founder of an agency, coming in with relatively little experience. Let's look at the pros and cons of that. So the pros of that, I think, is it's not the Oli show. I'm not going to say everything we do is a extension of me, and I'm going to walk in March into every client meeting and I'm going to spit gold, wisdom and truth bombs, and you just need to stay at my heel. And like in a chef's kitchen, if you do a stage or you work under a Michelin starred chef, the idea is you work for me for 3 years and then you can walk into any Parisian Michelin restaurant in the world that you like. That wasn't the ethos. I think what I saw my role as is kind of as a football manager. So I needed to hire the strikers, the Bellinghams, the Kanes, to come in and do amazing work. And my job is to kind of get out of their way, give them an idea of this is the direction we're going in, and basically say, what's in your way? How can I help? And I think that's very attractive to those sorts of people who want to come in and say, I want a canvas to do some really cool experimentation and try some stuff. It's not a great, attractive environment for someone that says, I want to come in and work and stay on your heel and watch you work and shadow you and follow everything you do. And so that's okay, because like with anything, like with the way we advise our clients, like the way that you talk to your audience, to be really compelling, you need to be really specific about who you want to talk to and who you want to show value to. And so I think that's always put us in good stead. It's being very clear on whether it's the clients that we do really great work with or the people that are going to really fly at Bud. Let's be specific. This is a great environment for you but it might not be if this is what you're looking for as well.
Yeah, I can see that. If you want to take autonomy, have ownership, accountability, and you want to have fun in the process of doing it, it's great. If you want a rule book to follow with instructions and prescribed materials, that's going to be really challenging, because I'm giving you an opportunity here, but if you see it as like a problem, then you're not the right fit. And so internally and externally, you've got clarity, which then allows you to get the right clients for you and the right people to then serve those clients. That also bring. I bet if you brought your team in here, they'd also be coming to life right now. They're that kind of people, right? You've molded and shaped and given them that kind of freedom in a way to go and explore.
Well, it's what we certainly, it's what we look for during the recruitment process, right? So we want to see demonstrations, examples of building stuff. It's one of the questions I love asking. It's like, tell me a time you built something. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be anything. Like, it could be something small. It could be at the organization I was working at, we saw this very niche problem, but it was sucking up time, or it was really a thorn in people's back. They really didn't enjoy doing it. And I created a workflow, or I brought these people together and we found a way to solve it. Like, I love people who build stuff. And I don't think you have to be the CEO of a company. You can be the intern, and you can spot a problem. And I always want to make sure Bud is the kind of environment where whether you're an intern or a general manager, if you spot a problem and have an idea to fix it, we'll move heaven and earth to make sure that gets implemented. And so the recruitment process is designed to help us find those people that are excited about building something and being given agency and autonomy to go and find it. But it goes, as I said before, it goes both ways. You can't ask to hire those people and then not put them in an environment where they have that latitude to experiment, test and learn. Because also if you're building stuff, let's say you're building that perfect thing, you need to have like prototyped and made a few disasters first. You look at like James Dyson, right? To make the perfect vacuum cleaner, you need to have several thousand messed up prototypes on the floor. So it's all well in saying we want people to build, but you also have to encourage test and learn culture and iterative building and failure as well. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
Right, it's that combination. Okay, so every founder has one decision, one change that's changed everything for them. What was it for you?
Biggest decision, I'd kind of associate this with failure. You know, I think some of the biggest learnings I've made have been born out of failure. If I look at how I started, the biggest, I guess, chip on my shoulder, the biggest insecurity, the biggest weakness that I knew I had was I was in an environment where you had big global competitors who had been around for decades, big names on their doors, and the people that worked at those places were impressive, shiny, polished. They knew how to talk about communications in a way that I didn't. They knew how to present themselves, and they knew the kind of the rules of the game in a way that I didn't. And I think in the early days, I was very much seduced by, if I can bring that kind of rigor and expertise to offset my gaps, that's going to just really hockey stick my company. And I had the opportunity to bring in that kind of talent at one stage, and I remember thinking, we're set. I just need to sit back and watch these people grow my business and watch it flourish and thrive, and my job is just sit back and watch them grow. And that didn't happen. And it's really not a discredit to those people. They were fantastic operators, but I'd almost taken them out of an environment that they thrived in and put them in another environment, my environment, a lean startup environment where where process hasn't been built. We're scrappy. We're just trying to grow at any cost. And what I realized is, I think it was a really big learning for me about what my value can be. And although I don't have a lot of those things that people bring, having come from those kind of environments, I have another kind of value to offer. And I think that was a really, firstly, expensive lesson, very costly. At the time, it didn't feel like a successful lesson, but I think in hindsight now, I can look back at it several years later, I see it as a massive, massive realization and epiphany that, you know, the people that come in now, whether they're coming in from a big organization or a small one, they are united by the fact that they are hustlers. They love building stuff. They love problem solving. They love cutting to the heart of where things lie. And I wouldn't have got to that point, and I wouldn't have been able to assemble the team that I have today and have such an amazing kind of group and collective of smart, curious, hardworking people if I hadn't made those realizations along the way.
Massive, absolutely massive. So tell me about Oli from the past, Oli from 10 years ago. What is it about him that would be different to the Oli that's sitting in front of me now, shining?
I mean, so that's 10 years ago. So that's 26-year-old Oli. So let's put ourselves back. We're mid-20s, and I think I doubt it's just me. I think all of us know that in your mid-20s, you're still in that relatively plastic phase of defining who you are. And at 26, I'd moved. So at 25, I moved from London to Singapore. And at 25, I think I had a fairly set idea of who I am, my identity, what my role is within the world. And I found myself very spontaneously moving to Singapore. And I was in a very different environment. I had very, very new friends. I was, the pace, you can attest to the same thing, I'm sure. The energy, the sense of optimism. There was a lot of, I suddenly found myself the same person, but in a very, very different environment. And so I think that was a really intoxicating time for me, where I was suddenly realizing that a lot of the definitions I had that kind of kept me constrained were now falling away. And I was like, actually, I can do anything. I can become whatever I want. And I can, a lot of these, kind of structures and the skeleton that I've formed around my identity don't exist anymore. And I think that's what made me a bit more playful and a bit more gung-ho with like, let's do some cool stuff here. Let's redefine who I am. And I think, if I hadn't relocated and changed my environment, would I have seen myself as an entrepreneur? No, I don't think I would. I think I wouldn't have felt comfortable taking on that role, and I think I would have limited myself a lot more. But if you walk around Singapore, I mean, you go to a coffee shop, you'll see 3 or 5 people with their laptops out building stuff. There's a sense of can do here. There's a sense of building here where I just think much more people are here to create and build and try stuff. And I think when you're in that environment, when you're surrounded by it, I think that empowers you in a way that I don't think I'd had before. So, 10 years ago, the change environment was, I think, a big game changer for me. And that's what I encourage for my kids, for anyone, is like, don't underestimate the power of changing your environment if something's not working. Whether that's a relationship, a friend group, a location, a job, a career, taking yourself out and putting yourself in a new one can be life-altering.
It's life-changing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I 100% agree with you on everything you just said in that moment, because it's knowing what. There's 2 things. You had fun. You had play. There's a sense of play with this. Like, how big it becomes a game. How big can we make this? And you realize that it's just about, you can just do stuff. You can just do anything. You can just do stuff, and it's okay, and it might work. And so then I think as well in England, and not to bash England too much, but just when you're there, you almost think it has to be, things are so established from like 1,000 years ago. So they've got 300, W.H. Smith has been around since the 1700s, and it feels like you can't get your books in there because everything's sort of like for the elite. And you have to have known George V to have like got that introduction and had that kind of in your history and own a stately home, and then it might work. But if you're just going to try and start your business, are you really an entrepreneur? Are you really going to make it, or are you just having a joke? Like, here, you're right. There's a sense of optimism. There's a sense of can do. I love that sense of can do. And I think if anyone's here in Singapore and they haven't felt that, just look again and have gratitude for what is out there in Singapore, the convenience, the way that things work here, the fluency, the AI nature of things. Like, everything's happening. You just have to look deeper. So, building Bud. You built it around challenger brands. Why not go for those big brands? I want a quick answer here. Just see, if we had to say in a sentence, what is it about the challenger brand? Why not go for the big clients, the big boys in the game, and just, that's your lot? Why hit those challenger brands?
Firstly, so we work with big publicly listed global companies. We work with small companies, but it's the challenger nature of them that I think that sets us apart, right? So we work with BYD, for example,
Massive.
the world's largest EV car producer. They're not a small company. They're not a new company, but
They're
they are.
certainly not, Oliver. They're certainly not.
No, but
You're killing it.
like they've dominated through that challenger mentality in an incredibly established industry. The automotive industry is one of the most. It's a legacy. It's built out of. It's got the heritage of. Ford, for heaven's sake, is like a brand that defined an era. It changed the game economically for the US. It's coming in and having the audacity to try and change that and steal market share from a Tesla is wild. But I think what drew us together is that it goes back to impact and influence. And I think, can we help? Can we help enable that thinking that isn't how can we gain 1% year on year, but actually, what's something really different that we can say that no one else is saying? How can we be bold? And in a large company, the challenge there is how can we communicate this idea in a way that people are going to get around it and support it? Because obviously with that comes risk. And the bigger a company is, the more checks and balances and safety protocols and procedures are in place to make sure that ginormous oil tanker of a company stays on course and doesn't hit an iceberg. And what I find most exciting about working with challenger businesses is just the appetite for innovation, and not just around the product, but around the communications. Let's say something bold here. Let's say something really, really out there that means that we're going to set ourselves apart from our competitors. And then I think the challenger thinking also goes back to how do we work as an agency. And so as we came in, we to the space, we've challenged the idea of how you measure the impact of communications. PR for a long time has been about how many pieces of coverage were you able to get us, how much share of voice, how have we performed against our competitors, and what we've come in with is something quite refreshing, which is and quite different, which is how does what you say align with what others say about you and what you actually do tangibly. So it's our believability framework, and it really looks at those three tenets. Yes, it looks at how loud you are and how aggressive you're being in terms of your communications and how proactive you are. But really, everything ladders into, does what you say align with what others say about you and what you're actually doing? And this is why, giant oil companies come into hot water, because they'll do a very fantastic green sustainability campaign, but it doesn't align with the fact that they might be drilling in the Arctic. Or they've had an oil spill somewhere. That's when the believability crumbles. And similarly, if you talk about as a company, we're a great place to work. If I, on this podcast, if I'm talking about culture and being a great place to work, and then you go on my Bud's Glassdoor and you see that we've got 2 out of 5, are you going to believe what I say? And so very simply, I think that's what we've kind of helped do for brands in a very specific, very measurable way, is help them understand how their brand sits at that intersection of what they say, what they do, and what others say about them. And I think that's a pretty innovative approach to communications that I think has made us attractive to those clients that are willing to innovate how they communicate.
That's real influence, and that takes a certain type of mindset, right? To be able to sit in a room with a brand and really pull back the curtain and go, I'm not just going to show you all the places you were featured like anyone else. I'm going to show you what people are saying about you that you might not want to hear, and then show you how we can reinvent that process with us to make this all aligned so we get your influence up. So what's the hardest thing about scaling a service business? If we had to nail it, like nobody talks about this, you're scaling a service business, what's the hardest thing?
I think the hardest thing is managing growth and understanding that we're not a tech company. It's very exciting wanting to grow and grow and grow, but ultimately the biggest limitation of a service industry or service company like a public relations agency is we're about our people, and we can only bring in so many great people at a time and without making sure that the wheels don't fall off. And we have to protect the culture that has served us well this whole time. And so the thing I always repeat internally at the company is we can't let the wheels fall off. If we've won 5 new clients in a month, fantastic, that's great for our revenue. But I don't want that to become unsustainable for the team, where it compromises the quality of the work or it compromises the culture of the business. And so there's been many instances where we've been growing really well, where we've deliberately put the brakes on to help us coast for a bit, for a couple of months, 3 months, while we just bed in and let this new rhythm fall in place. So if we've hit a certain new revenue milestone, we might go dial back on marketing, or we might just slow the conversations with prospects a little bit, just to give a bit of breathing room. So there is not, as you would find with a tech company, that exponential growth where we can take on 1,000 new customers each month. And I think that's where the discipline comes, because of course we've got goals and targets that we need to reach. But I think whenever I've seen companies in the services industry try and replicate that growth trajectory of a tech company, I think often there's been a casualty there, and it might be the culture, it might be the product. And so being intentional and careful whilst making sure that there is a momentum of growth, expanding into new markets, bringing out new products, growing our client revenue. Yes, we're on that trajectory, but every quarter we're looking at, are there cracks forming, and do we need to slow things down to make sure that this is a sustainable business? Because I'm not trying to win the year, I'm trying to win the decade. That's the approach we've taken, is that I don't mind if we have a slow year if it's in service for tomorrow or year 3 or year 5. And if we build that good foundation, good culture, good product, good reputation in the market for doing great work, that will serve us dividends in 7 years, 3 years, 5 years. And I'm okay with that.
Oli Budgen, what a line. I'm not trying to win the year, I'm trying to win the decade. This is amazing. Okay, Oli, what's a leadership mistake that still annoys you?
I think hiring skill over attitude, for sure, is a mistake that I've learned very much. I'm in a place now where our recruitment process, if I'm meeting with someone, 90% of my energy and focus is on understanding their values and their attitude. And there's a very cursory look at the skills and credentials they have. But that's 10%. I might look at something like, I might look at their CV and get a sense of, has this been made with love? Does it, and you can tell, if you look at one, I don't really care which uni they went to or how many years they spent at a certain agency, because you can join a great agency or great company and you can coast. And you can
hide.
You can hide, absolutely.
Looks good on paper.
Absolutely. So I like, I'll look at the CV and think, has this been made with care? Have you really put some effort into thinking about who you are, where your skill excels? And so I think, so much of the company's success has been around bringing great people in. So much of my learnings and my effort and my focus now is on that, about recruitment and hiring and talent, and making sure that they're okay and that we're an attractive place for great top talent to come and join. And so, looking at that attitude and making sure that they've got that self-awareness as well, to know this is where I'm great, this is where I'm not great. And I think that's, that's been very, very powerful for me. And we have questions and ways of doing this to find out, how good are you at self-assessing, where you're at, not just as a question, but as through tasks and things like that.
But that's it, right? Self-awareness, big key right now, especially when AI is automating everything. Someone can throw their CV in and make this CV the best CV I've ever written for this Google application, and make it get picked up. But then when they're in the room, if they have zero self-awareness, you can really stress test that. That's really where the skills that need to be developed is.
Absolutely.
You've got to be self-aware, because you need emotional control when something's gone wrong. You need to have the right values of a bud employee to be able to tackle something and have that conversation, right? You
need to know which environments you're going to thrive in and which environments you find challenging, right? And everyone's got them, and that's okay, right? There's things that I'm hopeless at, and there's things that I'm all right at, and the better people know that, and the better I know that, the better I can make sure that we stack the odds in their favour and set them up for success, or add some extra resource or support in the areas where they're not as strong. So I think the moment when you're bringing talent on and it feels like a sales pitch, I lose interest there, because I want people to be very, very clear on where they can create value, and also, Simon Sinek talks about this brilliantly. It's like the question he asks is, to avoid any nasty surprises down the line, what are some things that you need to for me to be aware of that might make this a bad fit, or might make this be a not a great partnership.
And you can see that when they have got some bad, they're going to struggle with that question because they're going to try and not say some stuff. You're going to be able to see that there's some stuff you need to own up to, because the person actually is a great fit. You can feel through their energy. They're just like, I know we're going to have fun together, and I'm building for a decade with you, Ollie. I'm in this. Here's where I can create value. Here, here, and here. Here's what I need help with. Bam, bam, bam. The person that actually in that process is actually trying to pull the wool over your eyes. They're the one that's like, oh, no, I'm good. I really want this. And they just want the job, right? And it's
That's
just like,
it.
The person that actually wants to be with you, be like, Ollie, here, I'm not so good. And I know you can help me with this.
We're looking at expanding into a market at the moment, and I'm interviewing people to lead that market. And one of my questions was, are you scared? And the ones that have gone far in that process are the ones that said, yeah, I'm scared.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I'm scared. But like, and the ones that didn't were like, no, this is fine. I can do this. Because I'm like, I'd be scared. I've done this, and it's petrifying. And there are going to be some really tough days where you're going to pull your hair out and regret your decisions and think, why the hell did I do this? And I think, that is a superpower. If you can just, do away with the, I work in PR, right? But this is the thing we advise people is like, be real. Like the moment people feel like they're getting sold something or presented with something manicured and coiffured, like they switch off. And
Which
it goes
is
back
so
to
much,
yeah,
right?
And it goes back to what we were going to talk about AI of like, that authenticity thing. I think is such a valuable commodity now that I think if people realised how powerful it is just to be raw and authentic, I think people would do it more.
Oli Budgen, you are a superpower. Do you realise that? You are a superpower. Let's talk about AI, right? You've got a PR business. AI's come into the mix. I can write a press release in 10 seconds. What's the value? Like I can, my ChatGPT knows me. My Claude not so much, but my ChatGPT, like it knows Tim Castle. It's like, yeah, I got your back, brother. But why Oli Budgen?
Yeah, I think AI has done something interesting where it's completely disrupted the nature of input and output. And like you can now, as you say, I can churn out a press release in 10 seconds. You can do it. Like there's nothing I can do that you can't now. But I also think in professions, I sometimes have a pain with myself of like, I wish I'd chosen a career that I can explain to my daughter and son really easily. And like public relations is not one of them. I wish I was like a doctor or a pilot or an actor. Like that would be really easy. But
you should be an actor. That would be cool.
I don't think the world needs that. But I think, I think it's very easy. When you work in a profession that's hard to define, you come back to simplifications. And the equivalent is like saying a doctor, what they do is they write prescriptions. Or an architect draws buildings. And I think to do that is to massively oversimplify the work that comes in before that, the work that needs to happen. So if someone who designed the Marina Bay Sands or the Shard in London, and famously you'll hear that they sketched on a napkin, and you miss the fact that they needed to understand place. They need to understand the environment that it was going to be, and they need to contextualize that idea. And if I look at bringing that back to PR, the press release is the last part of the conversation. It's the end part. There's so much work that needs to be done before that to really understand where's the brand at right now. Where's it really strong? Where's it really weak in relation to its competitors? Which elements of the company, internal comms, sustainability, customers. Before you can write a press release, you need to understand all of that context. You need to understand the media before you create. In order to create a story that people are actually going to resonate with. So, yes, I can create an output very easily, as can you. Is that output going to resonate with people? Are people going to pay attention to it? Is it going to create something entirely vanilla that, you've written 8 books, best-selling books. You could do your next one with AI.
No way.
I'm telling you, man, you can do it. You can do it. It'll save you a load of time.
Never going to happen.
But you won't, and I know you won't.
Yeah.
Why not? You'll do it because you know that
me.
it's not you, and it won't capture your ideas. It won't. People won't resonate with it. And
Well, yeah, AI won't. That's a good point. AI won't know what I actually, in my heart, want to say and how I want to say it from the perspective of lived experience, because I'm trying to help the person I once was, right? Helping people transform, build negotiation, blah, blah, blah. AI might have a hypothesis, but it's not going to have that felt piece. And probably the same as what you're saying
Yep.
with the person's brand, right?
Yep.
Or the company.
Now, don't get me wrong. We are massively bullish on AI at Bud. We've invested in it immensely. We've brought in partners to help look at every element of our workflows to really think about how AI can augment us. I'm not a Luddite, even if I sound like I am.
No, you're not. Bud Communications, you literally have AI fluency running through your veins.
Yeah, but I think it's you've got to have the fundamentals. And something I talk about is like, can you do PR in a power cut? And what I mean by that is, if the lights all went down now, my laptop shut off, could I still understand the good fundamentals? Could I advise clients? Could I still work and give them good counsel? Could I still make an impact for them? Yes, I feel confidently that I could. And so I think when we look at kind of younger generation coming into the industry, it's the same thing. It's like, you want to make sure you've got those fundamentals, good judgment, the ability to measure and evaluate the outputs from AI, so that you are the human at the end of the process, not relegating yourself to following AI. You should be leading it. And so I think that good fundamental understanding and knowledge of the craft, I think, is really important. But then there's massive gains to be made in terms of productivity, in terms of the depth of research and insight we can now get for our clients, is immense. But it will always come down to, was this an extension of a human? Is this lengthening our reach and our power and our potency, or is it just coming in and switching off the brains? I think that's where the judgment comes in.
We're in this world where there's a mass or a glut of content, obviously AI produced slop. What happens if what gets attention now? Like, what cuts through that noise?
The same stuff that always existed. I don't think that's changed. Do you have a point of view? Are you authentic in your message? Do you believe what you're saying? Are other people going to believe in it? I am very cynical about those that are constantly saying the death of something, or that, because the people that say the death of something are typically people that stand to gain something from the solution. Yeah. So,
exactly. Yeah, that's coming from a person that doesn't want that to win.
They've got an they've got an interest in something, and I think it's a very uncool, very unsexy position to have. But people talk about what makes something viral. It comes down to, do you stand for something? Do you have a point of view? Is it something unique? And then a little bit of fairy dust of magic that comes in because it hits the right moment at the right time. That is uncontrollable.
Wow, I want that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we do on the Tim Castle show. We talk about the unsexy thing. We get the fairy dust and we sprinkle some magic on there. We've got the play. This is wild, man. You're really hitting the nail.
There you go. I'll sell some to you afterwards. It's fine.
Please. I'd love to. I'll buy it.
But I just think, we've all seen, right, since the advent of AI, since AI took off in the last couple of years, it's how many more people are you now seeing putting out 5 posts a week on LinkedIn or on Instagram? Those kind of reluctant content creators are now producing massive amounts of content, but
it doesn't sound like them.
It doesn't sound like them. It doesn't resonate. You can immediately your detector for AI is going off, and I think people have got distracted by that, and they've thought, I'm not a creator now. I can become one with 3 clicks of a mouse, and I think unless you've got that idea of what do I stand for, what's my story, what am I here for, is what I'm saying actually got a target audience, a person that when you say you write your books, you write them for previous Tim, right?
Yeah.
Like you've got a very specific kind of ideal customer profile in mind for who you want to resonate with, and that's why you've been as successful as you have.
And I'm willing to do the work, right? People do not understand I've had calls at every hour of the day and night. I've been in the WeWork at 3 a.m. when there's no aircon, recording a podcast with someone in the middle of America because I don't want them to know it's 3 a.m. I've done that like nearly 100 times. I've fought for every opportunity. I've been there. They don't see all the work. All they see is a book and then a topic and think, oh yeah, that hit the spot. But not only that, I know even if you got AI to produce a book, it doesn't matter. You can't compete with real, genuine human connection.
That's it.
And the resilience to go, what it takes to go get that book into 100,000 people's arms and then get them to like it. Like they have to like it. They have to enjoy it. It has to provide the value. And if it didn't get the reviews,
it can't be shit.
Yeah, if you get 100,000 reviews, that's like 1 million copies sold of people that actually thought, yeah, this is a 4.6 out of 5.
That's it. That's it. I think that's beautiful what you're saying. I mean, I think
thank you.
I'm so enamored by people that have that grit and resiliency, because when you built what you're building, I'm sure that the reward and the success probably took a long time to come through, right? There's probably
years.
a lot of
8 years, probably
8 years of
grind,
of 3 a.m. calls, of grind, of zero guarantee. Like, and this is the thing as well. I think about resiliency, why it's such a superpower, is any day there are going to be dozens of reasons why you should stop what you're doing. Like today, you'll have multitude of reasons why you'll get a rejection, or you'll get something that didn't land, or you'll get a piece of content that no one picks up. There's so many times and opportunities for you to fail, and I think when you, in whatever you do, and I think and happens to me more times than I can count. Like and my wife will attest to this. There'll be numerous times where I'll come home and I'll be like, oh, like maybe I shouldn't be doing this. Maybe this is rubbish. And I give myself permission to like moan and whine for an hour, and then I've got to like reset and be like, no, come on, we're here to do this, and this is my power. It's like I can.
Oh, then you come back
my staying
stronger.
power. Yeah. And I'm like, no, I don't quit. Like, I'm going to keep coming. Like, we've won pitches with clients where we've lost twice before winning the third time.
Yes,
I love that. And there's no prouder moment when it comes to clients we've worked with where we've come in for the third time and we've taken the learnings we needed and come in third time smiling, happy, excited to be there in the room again, and they love it and it's worked. And for all those times we've won, we've also pitched and not won.
Yeah.
But I think that staying power that's the magic. That's
the fairy dust.
Yeah, that's it.
So what's something people consistently get wrong about you? Like if we talk about Oli, I want to get to know Oli deep. There's,
do you?
200,000 people online now watching this going, who's that? I really like what he's putting down.
I don't know if they're ready. I mean, I think when I look at entrepreneurs, it's very easy to see the successes and not see the pain, and also think that there's some special sauce in them. That like I think people think that I've got this appetite for risk and tolerance that no one else or like that only exists if you start your own business.
Super extreme and
yeah, exactly, and that's not true at all. Like I'm a very calculated. Takes me a long time to make a decision. I'm very risk averse, but I've also aware of that, and so that's why I try and do things to make sure that I'm now aware that I don't need to wait to get 100% certainty on a decision anymore. For a long time, I would try and spend months on something to get 100% certainty on a decision. You'll never get it, and now I'm at that point where I'm comfortable with 51%. And I think that was a big thing for me.
That's a big unlock.
But everyone has that. Like I think, yeah, I don't have some superpower around taking risks or resiliency that other people don't have. I think it's in everyone. I think if more people realised they could start their own business and start something and create something, I think the world would be an amazingly better place.
It would. It'd be joyful, wouldn't it? Like,
yeah.
You can feel it. You just know that if people realised we can just do stuff, and all that you've done is you've lowered your threshold for decision making from 100% certainty to 51, we go. And that was a big unlock for you. You've identified a piece of you that you were like, hey, I'm restricting myself here. So who are you trying to make proud?
Oh, you're going to get me emotional here, Tim.
That was the goal.
That's it. Okay. I mean, nothing boosts engagement like a few tears,
This
right?
is the real.
This is it. This is it. I'll put some onions under my eyes now.
We get the water, sprinkle it.
Who am I trying to make proud? I mean, I think having kids changes you, of course. I've got 2 young kids, and I think for me, when I look at the sacrifices I make, where I miss dinner times, bath times, I miss school shows, in service of what I'm building, I want to make sure that it's worthwhile and it's for them. And I think I want to be a great role model. So I want them to see that you can love your job and you can be playful with it and you can be creative and you can also have a great work-life balance and you can do these cool things and I think that's great, because rather than me being home all the time with them, I want them to see that, like, to be an impressive individual, like that they look up to and think, wow, I want that in my life. I want to build something. I want to go out there. I want to travel. I want to be courageous. And so sometimes when I'm leaning into these things, I realize actually I'm doing that stuff for them. I want them to see that hustle. I don't, I could move at a slower speed, be home for bath times more often, and not be able to show them that success.
That's such a good point.
It's balance, of course it is. I want to be there while they grow up. I mean, while they're in that golden age of children, and I am in many ways. But I think I also want to just set a great example to them, so that when they come into whatever the workplace looks like in 20 years, God knows what that will look like, that they've got those fundamentals. They've got a sense of can-do, self-esteem, confidence, playfulness, curiosity. I don't know if they need to code or not, but I know that they need those skills in 20 years. Yeah.
Oli, what a fantastic place to leave this conversation. I mean, I feel like we need a round 2. I really, really do. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for coming on, for sharing that, because this whole conversation has been infused with those types of words that you've used. And I can feel it, the culture of curiosity, the play. Like, you are a role model. I can see it through and through for your kids, and you should be super proud because you're leading them every day through your example. And that's an epiphany for me, is knowing that you sometimes do have to miss stuff, and I'm sure for the audience as well, the fact that if you can go back and explain what you're doing and they can grasp this is what it takes to get what we now have or to build something, and then they can see the beauty in that, and they can see the freedom in the fact that you're doing something with purpose, doing something that's defining an era and defining something for a decade, right? With people at the heart of it, with culture at the core of it. That's what you've done. That's what you've given us on this episode. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart, because you've helped thousands of people today. And I think you've given a whole new bunch of people the confidence and the courage to go out and start their own thing. So where can people find you? What should they do next if they want to get in touch with Bud Communications?
I mean, they can reach out to me on LinkedIn, where I'm at. They can see us on www.budcoms.com. That's our website. That talks a little bit more about the believability framework that we've created. But yeah, happy to have a conversation with anyone interested and see how we can help them.
Hi, Oli. I'd like to have a conversation about Tim Castle. He's a negotiator.
I don't think you need any help, Tim. I think you're all set. You're all set.
Thank you. Really, really grateful for this.
Thank you, Tim. This has been a pleasure. Really enjoyed it. And yeah, let's do a part 2.
Let's do round 2.
See you next week.
Catch you.